off to?
We're off to the airport.
Evasive maneuvers. Do a barrel roll.
Well, that's a good sign.
Time to get a SIM card.
Hey guys, we're here at Wanaki High School for Tormach Tech Day, and we're just about to set up our table to meet some people tomorrow.
I think we've got a lot of video with this one, so without further ado, James.
Hey guys. Wait. So my name is James Hobson, and online I go by the Hacksmith. And on our YouTube channel, we try and take fictional ideas from comics, movies, and video games and make real working prototypes. And we do this to inspire the next generation of engineers to show what kind of cool stuff you can do with awesome machines like Tormach, 3D printers, and all kinds of stuff like that. And I could talk about this all day, but let's start by showing you a quick video of what we do.
Designing and building technology usually only see.
Pretty cool, huh? Plus that song's gonna be stuck in your head for the rest of the week. So, a lot of people ask, how did we get here and how are we doing this as a business? Because it's pretty crazy if you think about it. We're making random inventions online and somehow making a living while we're at it. So I want to just talk to you a bit about my story and how we got to where we are today. We're actually a company of about 5 people now. And I quit my full-time job as an engineer just over a year and a half ago. And now we've expanded that much in just a year, and I'm so looking forward to the future and what the future holds for us and making cool stuff for a living. But how do we get started? We started in a garage with secondhand tools, just messing around trying to invent the next big thing. And we've been working on projects, Ian and I, since high school. Our first project was actually with robotics. It was, in Canada, there's something called Skills Canada, which is a trades competition for high schools where there's multiple different competitions, but we were in the robotics competition. And we built this remote-controlled robot that could play soccer. And we actually won nationals that year, and it was the first year we had competed. And that's when we really realized that we wanted to make cool stuff for a living. We went on to study mechanical systems engineering at Conestoga College. And one of our first big projects that we did was we converted a 1993 Honda Del Sol to electric. And you know what? It's actually pretty simple to do. First, you're going to need a car, take the engine out, find an electric forklift that no one wants anymore, take all the parts out of that, use the machine shop at your school to mill an adapter plate to couple the motor to the transmission, install the motor, throw some car batteries in the trunk, and Bob's your uncle. Unfortunately, we never got on the road legally because for some reason insurance companies don't really trust a couple of 18-year-olds who've made an electric car. But we learned a lot through that project, and we knew that as we were able to have more resources, the projects we would do would just become bigger and bigger and bigger. So we continued working on little projects here and there, and a few years into our degree, we actually had the opportunity to compete at the Canadian Engineering Competition. And being a newly accredited engineering program, in 2011, it was actually the first time our school was even allowed to compete with the other universities. And it was kind of funny because all the other teams were like, oh, look, Conestoga, the little community college is competing with the big league universities. We won first place. And then we actually went on to nationals where we won second place and an innovation award. And our college loved that. But it just goes to show that it doesn't really matter where you go to school. If you have the passion and the desire to build cool stuff, you can do it. And it's amazing what you can learn on the internet these days. After we graduated and received our iron rings, it's a Canadian engineering thing. Anyone know about those? A few? Yeah, oh, we got one. Engineering manager at Tormach. He's from Edmonton, or near Edmonton, sorry. We had to get real jobs. That didn't last very long, though. I was never meant for the office. So I actually started working for Hackaday on the side. And that's actually kind of how I got started. I started covering projects around the world. I've actually written well over 1,000 articles now on projects made by people just like you. And what I did was I registered a business when I joined that company, and I kept all the money in that business account, and I started using it to buy tools and more equipment to grow my business. In addition, I've toured all of Europe seeing makerspaces. I was going on a work trip to Germany, and then because of my connections in Hackaday, I was like, hey, does anyone want to show me their hackerspace? And the invites poured in. So I visited 13 hackerspaces in 6 days, 3 countries, 7 cities. It was a whirlwind of a tour, but it was amazing seeing all the different makerspaces out there, and they're fantastic. If you're not a member of one, you should really check them out, because especially for new makers, it's a great way to be able to have access to cool machines like, say, Tormach CNC machines or bigger 3D printers when you don't quite have the investment to do it yourself. I also started making videos on YouTube. I've actually been on YouTube for well over 10 years now. And what happened was, whenever I did a project, I'd like to take pictures and videos and even write a little post explaining like what I did. And that's just kind of grown more and more over the years. So in 2012, I was graduating with a degree in engineering, and YouTube opened up their partner program to everyone. And I thought, I could make money on YouTube. I should try doing that. And that's when I came up with the name, the Hacksmith. And now, the Hacksmith, it's a throwback to blacksmiths, because back in the day, the blacksmith was the guy you went to get something fixed, made, designed. They were the Da Vincis of their time, the jack of all trades. If they couldn't figure it out, who could? So it's kind of just like a 21st century spin on that name. From there, my notoriety began to grow. I continued working on projects, and I had a few projects that went semi-viral on the internet. And this was a local newspaper that wrote a story about me a few years ago. Although I do have a little issue with it. They call me a mad scientist. I got something for that. So a student asked this mad scientist, why did you build a giant death ray? And the scientist responds, I'm trying to take over the world. But the kid, he's a good student. He's like, what mad hypothesis are you testing? Are you just making mad observations? And the mad scientist is like, no, I'm just trying to take over the world, that's all. But the kid's like, you're going to at least leave some of the world as a mad control group, right? The truth is, most mad scientists are actually just mad engineers. We just do stuff. Once I had had my 10 seconds of fame, I wanted more. I decided to throw everything I had into this YouTube thing, and I quit my job. I was a product developer at a company that made projectors, actually. And I decided to try doing YouTube completely full-time. And that was just over 1.5 years ago. And when I quit, I only had about 70,000 subscribers on YouTube, which isn't enough to make a living on YouTube. Luckily, I did consulting engineering on the side. I laser engraved products for people, and I did stuff like that to help pay the bills while I was focusing on YouTube. Ian joined me a few months after that. We rolled over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, got our silver play button, and we're like, all right, this is pretty cool, maybe this will work. And then we did our Captain America shield project. And that project went mega viral, and our channel went from 100,000 to 500,000 subscribers in about a month. That's more people than live in the entire city area I'm from. It's crazy. And that was when we realized, like, hey, this is actually feasible. This might actually work. And now we're sitting just 1.5 years later, and we're at about 1.5 million subscribers. And We're actually in the top 60 channels in Canada by subscriptions, which is pretty crazy. We're catching up to Nickelback, though I don't think that's really much of an accomplishment. And the team's expanded quite a bit. This was from just over a year ago, the core original team. So Ian and I are still here today, and then we had Cody and Ryan who are doing other things now. But this is a picture from just a few weeks ago. We took the team out to see Spider-Man Homecoming. We have about 3 full-time people, a few part-time guys, and we actually have a handful of high school volunteers and interns, as well as a college co-op student. So the team's gotten pretty big, and we're able to do much bigger projects, and everyone has a great time doing it, because it's really a dream job for most people. And thanks to our exposure online, companies seem to like sponsoring us. These are some of the products that we've received from different companies. Laser cutter, Markforged 3D printer, Lulzbot TAS 6s, and of course a PCNC 440 milling machine. You guys might be familiar with it. We even have a sponsorship with SolidWorks and Bosch as well as Origin PC. And as we continue to grow and we're able to use better and better equipment, we're able to do cooler and cooler projects, which is super exciting for us. And it's amazing what a do-it-yourselfer can do now because of this technology. Having a Tormach PCNC 440 in your garage is incredible. 50 years ago, it was a much different world. And now you can do small-scale manufacturing at home. It's amazing. Now, obviously, quitting your full-time job to focus on YouTube is pretty risky. And when I was quitting, my coworkers were quite skeptical. But luckily, since I had years of experience already doing this kind of thing and doing side jobs and consulting and whatnot, it wasn't that big of a leap for me. It might have seemed like that from everyone else, but I knew what I was doing, and it ended up working out great. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if plan A doesn't work out, don't worry, you've got 25 letters left. Some of the best businesses are the ones that start at home, out of a garage with a few friends. And Tormach, one of our favorite companies to work with, because they gave us an awesome CNC machine, and they might be giving us a bigger one soon, helps empower people everywhere and small hobbyists and people just like you guys to be able to make some seriously cool shit at home. So if I had any advice to give, it would be work on side projects. Take passion in building stuff just because that's where your next big idea might hit. And that's how you take a small idea and snowball it into a business. So what are you waiting for? If you guys have any other questions, come over to the booth. We've got lots of projects here on display, and good luck with any of your ventures. Sure. And if anyone has any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to apologize for yesterday. I was worried about you with your human quadcopter. After watching this, the human quadcopter.
It's a lot safer.
Yeah. Now we're really worried.
Any other questions for James?
Yeah, I have like probably a really lame question, but do you have to have extra insurance?
We have some insurance. We're not too sure what would really happen if there is a rather odd accident. We're covered for most normal things, trips and falls and basic machine shop accidents. But obviously, we always have to look into risk mitigation when we're testing these things, and usually we're doing tests on private property away from people. We're not testing anything here for that reason. We're in a school. So unfortunately, none of our projects, we're not shooting anything today or anything like that. But yeah, it's hopefully we won't have to find out.
All your revenue, YouTube revenue?
So YouTube ad revenue used to be a lot better. It's really not that much anymore. If it was just me, I could probably make a living off just our YouTube ad revenue. That being said, if you're a really big channel, like that little amount becomes a big amount, because it's all proportional to how many views you get on YouTube. So as our channel continues to grow, we'll make more money just from the videos. But in the meantime, right now, we really do have to rely on sponsorships from generous companies like Tormach and other companies to really help pay the bills, because we're a team of 5 people now. it's not cheap running a machine shop, which is basically what we're doing. So we need to reach out to those companies and form partnerships and whatnot to make things happen. But as the channel continues to grow, the possibility for revenue increases and we'll be able to continue to expand. And the thing I really like about how we're doing it is there's lots of other inventors on YouTube making cool projects, but I think we're one of the few ones trying to treat it a lot more like a business. We're trying to create an engineering R&D company off of entertainment, which is really cool. So I have high hopes for what we'll be able to accomplish in the future. Anything else?
So what's your next big thing?
As you saw in the video, I kind of want to fly. So we're currently working on a project that we called Flying Like Iron Man, but it's really expensive and the technology is really not there. So it's going to look more like a giant quadcopter or drone off of my back. So it's not really flying like Iron Man. We might change it to flying like Vulture from the new Spider-Man movie. But the main goal is be able to fly. And as long as I'm flying, I don't really care what it looks like.
Can you talk more about your engineering education background?
Sure. So I went to Conestoga College, which has a 4-year hands-on applied degree. And compared to, I've had friends who went through university programs and whatnot, which were a lot more theoretical and less hands-on. And I honestly think like the more hands-on programs really are better. It depends what you're planning on doing as well, obviously, but I definitely believe there should be more focus on hands-on education, getting down and dirty with the trades, the machine shop, all that stuff, because you'll find in big companies the engineers have such a disconnect from the guys who actually make the stuff. And if the engineers actually know how to make the stuff too, it just makes everything better. There's less of a wall in between manufacturing and engineering.
How early did you start studying engineering or engineering?
So in high school, I took all the tech classes, and that's when I really realized, like, oh, this is engineering, this is what I want to do. I graduated and then went straight into the 4-year program at Conestoga, and I continued to take the opportunities I had being at that school and using their resources, their machine shop and their 3D printers and stuff, to do stuff on the side. And that was also really helpful for getting a job. If you can pad out your resume with more than just a part-time job at McDonald's or something, it's so much easier to get your foot in the door and get a proper good job. So doing projects on the side, it obviously depends on the company, but most people will be a heck of a lot more interested in you if you start telling them about this electric car that you built yourself in your garage or whatever your project is. So definitely and take pictures and videos, be able to tell the story of your project. It's cool just making something, but it's cool being able to show it off as well.
What's the iron ring?
The Iron Ring. So Canadian engineers who do an accredited engineering program can get the Iron Ring, and it's called the Calling of the Engineer. And it's just kind of this, it's kind of silly, it's actually kind of cult-like. There's a secret ceremony, which I can't tell you about, where we get our iron rings, and there's a few myths about it. The purpose of the Iron Ring is to remember our pledge to society to be a good engineer and not design things that break. So the story goes, there was a terrible accident in, I believe, Quebec, where a bridge fell down and killed a lot of people. And the story goes that the bridge was melted down into these rings to serve as a reminder to all engineers to not build bridges that fall down and everything else. And the idea is when you're signing off on a design, your ring taps on the table. So you're supposed to wear it on your working hand. So if I was left-handed, I'd wear it on my left hand. And it's kind of a cool thing that we do to remind ourselves that we're engineers. And there are, some states do iron rings as well, similar premise and idea, but it's cool.
Thank you, James.
Thank you. Thank you.